Oh, hey, how are you doing? My name is Juan Cangas, and if you are here, then you're interested in possibly learning more about your future, right? And I want you to think about this. I want you to think about this road right here, okay? And I want you to think about clear at the other end of that road is your future, all right? Answer this question. If that end over there at that road is your future, at that future, you will be successful in what? What will happen at the end of this road in your future? How will you know if you're successful? Give me some responses. You might be thinking, you know what, Juan, I will be successful if I go to college, right? I will be successful if I make a lot of money. I don't know what it is for you. Every single one of us, though, has a picture in our mind that we say, hey, if we make it to this, and give it to me. For those of you that are still on teams, put it in the chat. I will be successful if what? How will you define success in the future? Because let me tell you what, I think it's so important that every single one of us has a definition, because if you don't have a definition for yourself, it'll be given to you. See, if you would have asked me this question when I was in high school, when I was your age, I would have given you one answer. I will be successful if I go to college. Okay, if I make it to college, because I was the first person in my family to ever even attempt to go to college, right? And I would have given you that answer because for me, college was it. That was the place. Everybody was telling me, look, all you got to do is get to college. And if you get to college, then you will be successful. And so I worked really hard in high school. I got the grades that I needed. I applied to the scholarships that I needed to apply for. And let me tell you what, my senior year, my dream came true and I got a full ride scholarship to the college of my choice. I went to the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, go Cornhuskers. Yo, I was so excited. There is nothing better than to be able to get accepted into college and not have to pay for it, right? But it was a lot of work to get there. And because I worked so hard just to get to college, I remember when I first stepped on a college campus and I was looking around, I was like, whoa, right? Seeing all these buildings and seeing all these people. And I remember after the first week, I sat down with one of my advisors and they asked me a question that I was not prepared for. They asked me, what's next? What are you going to study? And I'll be honest with you, I was not ready for that question. You see, the only question I was answering throughout high school was how can I get to college? But I forgot to ask another very important question that most high school students forget to ask, and that is, what is college for? What is the purpose of college? See, we talk to you in high school to make sure to get to college, get to college, get to college. And I'm telling you what, that's definitely something you want to get for most of you, right? That's one of your goals. But what is college for? What's the purpose of college? Give it to me on the chat. We got some people that are still staying on. Thanks, Dage. Thanks, Eheso. Shajan. Appreciate you all staying on here. Put it on the chat. What is the purpose of college? What is college for? Is it just to fill your mind with new information and learn even more than you've learned in high school? What is it for? What's the purpose of college? See, sometimes we forget to ask that question. Mutu says to fulfill your dreams. All right. Shajan says to prepare you for life. And Mutu says your goals in life, to be able to achieve your dreams and to get to your goals in life. And let me tell you what, I had to answer that question that first year. I was like, I wasn't sure. I didn't know how to answer this question, what was college for. And I started thinking about the future, right? I started thinking about 4 years after college, or years after college, and what I would be doing. And I started thinking, man, what am I going to do? What am I going to do in my future? What is that future going to look like? And I started thinking about that in college. And I remember my advisor asked me, hey, so what's your major? What is the thing that you're going to major in? And I had no idea. Honestly, I had no idea what I was going to major in. And I thought about, well, you know what? My dad's an electrical engineer in Mexico. And I really love and respect my dad. So maybe I'll try to be an electrical engineer. And so my first semester, that's what my major was. It was electrical engineering. And I had all these math classes and science classes. And one of the classes that I had, it was an introduction to electrical engineering. And in that class, literally, what we had to do is we had to learn how to put these circuits together, like you can see behind me right here. And my only task for the whole class was to get this one light, right? That one light to turn on. Y'all, I'll be honest with you, I could not get the circuits working. I remember one time I was in lab. We had these labs that were like about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I was in there for 4 hours trying to get these circuits right. And at the end, I didn't even get it. I just had somebody kind of help me out with it. I remember after that day leaving so frustrated, thinking like, man, if I can't turn on one little light, how in the world am I going to turn on a whole building, which is what electrical engineers do? And I remember at that moment, I was feeling so frustrated. I was like, there's no way I can do this. And so after my first semester of college, I decided to make a change. And let me tell you, the next few years of college, I would change again and again and again. I changed my major 4 different times. I went from electrical engineering to business. And then I went from business to psychology. And then I went from psychology to law. And you might be thinking, dang, Coach Cangas, like you were super scatterbrained, right? You had no idea what you wanted to do. Well, let me tell you what, I was just exploring. I was tasting things because how do you know that what you want to do? Most of you, if I would ask you, what are you interested in? Some of you would have some ideas like I want to be a doctor or I want to be a nurse. And I would ask you, how do you know that that's really for you? How do you know? How do you know if you've never been a doctor? How do you know if you've never been a nurse? How do you know if you've never been a teacher that that's actually what you want to do? Because let me tell you what, most of us have an idea of what something is like, but until you taste it, until you actually do that thing, you don't know. You don't know. And that's why it's so important that you actually try things, you experience things. And that's what I did during college. That's why I changed my major over 4 different times, because every time I got interested in something, I would go and experience it. I would go and taste it. It's kind of like, it's kind of like when somebody asks you, hey, do you like tacos, right? Or do you like, some pho, or, do you like this certain type of chicken? Like, the only way that you'll know if you like it is if you taste it. And that's the exact same thing with careers. You don't know if you really like it until you taste it. And so I had these experiences. I remember after my freshman year, I thought I wanted to go into business. And so I got an internship with Coca-Cola. And that whole summer I did, I stocked shelves, I did sales. They even let me drive one of the big trucks. I even crashed it one time, no joke. And after that summer, I realized, you know what? I don't really like this business stuff. It's interesting, but it's not really who I am. And so then the next year, I remember I turned to psychology, and I actually did research on the university campus. I did 3 years of research. I did this study. I even got to travel to California to a conference. This was me right here presenting to a group of professionals that were like PhD doctorates. I felt like, oh my God, I'm presenting to doctors. And I remember after that, I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't know if I really want to do research for the rest of my life. And so then I changed to law school, to pre-law, okay? I was going to be a lawyer. And I remember I went and I did an experience at the U.S. Capitol. This is me right here. Yep, I was young. I had more hair. Don't judge me. And I got to intern with Congress. I literally had an office inside the Congress's offices, and I got to hang out with amazing people, meet individuals, and I got to literally see how laws were developed. And let me tell you, after all those experiences, they all taught me something super important. They all taught me something really important, right? But after every experience, I would always ask myself this question: would I be excited to do this for 45 years? Right, because at the time I was around 20 years old, and so I was thinking, all right, I'll retire like maybe when I'm 65. Could I do this job day in and day out for 45 years? And and this was an easy question to be able to kind of filter whether I was gonna really do this career or not, because a lot of times it was no. I couldn't see myself working at Coca-Cola or doing this business just for 45 years, just business. I couldn't see myself doing for 45 years research and teaching at the university, right? Being like a doctor of psychology. I couldn't see myself even in the law, being in law school and doing law for 45 years. And let me tell you what, I remember my senior year, I was still majoring in law. And I told everybody that I was going to be this lawyer. And I remember the time that I told my mom that I was going to be a lawyer. And she was so proud of me. She's like, ay, mijo, vas a ser un abogado. Because to me, my family, like, they all they knew about what for careers was doctors, lawyers, and teachers and police officers, right? My parents didn't know a lot about different careers, but if you were going to be a lawyer, man, you were thought of very highly in my family. And my mom told all my cousins. To this day, I have cousins that literally think that I'm a lawyer, and they call me up. They're like, "Hey, man, can you help me with this thing?" I'm like, "No, bro. I never finished. I never went to law school." And here's why: because after that experience where I went to Washington, D.C., and I interned there and I seen how laws were developed, I realized something. I realized that lawyers have to write a lot and read a lot. And look, this guy doesn't like to write a lot. And I don't like to read a lot. I'm sorry, don't judge me, but I don't. And I remember 3 months before I was going to graduate, I had this epiphany, right? I was like, you know what? I could not see myself the next 45 years reading these law books, writing these cases. I don't want to be a lawyer. Now that's a good epiphany to have. Just the wrong timing. I was about to graduate. College. I've been going to college for 4 years, and I was about to graduate, and I was so lost. I was completely lost. I mean, you think you feel lost as a high school student? I know some of you are panicking. You're thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I have no idea. I think I want to do this, or I think I want to do that. Think about me. I was in college, about to graduate college, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had tried so many things, and they all just didn't really excite me to the point where I was like, I could do this for years. And so I remember at the time I was working for Coca-Cola as a part-time. So after I did an internship with them my freshman year, I stayed on and just worked part-time with them. And I remember I go into my boss's office, and I'm just kind of like upset and depressed. And he notices it, and he's like, "Hey, Juan, what's wrong?" And I say, "Oh, man, I'm about to graduate college, and I don't have a job, and I don't know what I'm going to do with my future. I feel like such a failure." And he says, "Hey, why don't you come work for us, full-time? And you could be a sales representative. I know you tried everything else out and it really wasn't for you, but what other options do you have?" And then here's the thing that caught me. He showed me how much money I'd be making. And I was like, okay, all right, right? So I had no other option. So I said, you know what? I'll start working for Coca-Cola. I'll see how that goes. Plus, I'm totally lost, so I have no idea what I want to do. And I remember at that moment, I graduated. I was making some good money. Yo, they got me a car, right? They got me a car that looked just like this. And they gave me a card where I could put gas in it, and I didn't have to pay for gas. And I was like 22 years old. I was making more money than my parents had ever made. I had this nice car that the company was paying for. Look, you might be thinking like, all right, Coach Cangas, like, I see you. You're doing good now, right? You think I'd be all happy like I usually am? But I'll tell you the truth. About 6 months into the job, I remember I would come to my apartment and I would feel depressed. I'd feel just depressed. You ever feel that way? Like you don't know what it is. Everything else outside seems like it's good, but there's something inside of you that's just not right. And I remember I couldn't shake this depression, and I was just coming home and all I wanted to do was to sleep, and I didn't get it. I didn't understand why. I remember thinking like, I've done everything that everybody has told me to be successful, right? I went to college. I graduated from college. I got a job with a Fortune 500 company, a very successful company. I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life. I've made it. Then why do I feel like I haven't? Why do I feel like this? Why do you think? Put it in the comments. Why do you think I felt that way? I'll tell you why. Because I didn't think that this was possible. But hear from me. I wish I would have heard this when I was in high school. You can go to college and still just have a job. You can go to college and still just have a job. Because let me tell you what the difference between a job and a career. There's a difference between it, right? A job is some place where you go just to get paid. And a career is a place that you go, but you also love and enjoy what you do. And there's a vast difference between it. See, my parents, when I was growing up, they had a job. And not because they wanted a job, it's because that's the only thing they could do to be able to provide for us so we could have an opportunity to have a career. See, my parents slaved themselves away at meatpacking plants, right? Doing a job that they hated, but for someone that they loved. so that I could do something that I loved. And I felt like such a failure because even though I had gone to college, even though I was working for a good company, it was a job. It was a job because it wasn't using my strengths. It was a job because it didn't give me life. It was a job because it didn't excite me. I couldn't see myself doing that forever. And let me tell you what, most people, when you grow up, young people, you'll be surprised how many people settle for a job because to get a career takes time. To get a career, to find that thing that you're really passionate about is rare. And most people stop. They stop looking. And I almost stopped looking, but I'm so glad that there was something in me, right? There was something that wouldn't settle. There was something in me that said, no, man, you didn't make it this far to just stay in a job. You got to go find it. You got to go find that thing that you're willing to do, even if you don't get paid to do, right? And I challenge you to think about that. What work would you do even if you didn't get paid? Put it in the chat, right? Even if you didn't get paid, but you knew you would love doing it, what would you do for work? Some of you maybe would help your community in some way, right? Some of you would be Thrive coaches like myself. Some of you would be nurses. You're like, dude, even if I didn't get paid, I love helping other people. Put it in the chat. What would you do even if you didn't get paid? What kind of work would you love doing? And I started asking myself that question, right? I'm making money, but if I can volunteer on the side, what would I volunteer doing? And honestly, at first I didn't have an answer. I just knew that I didn't like what I was doing, but I wanted to do something else. And so I started exploring. After college, I started exploring even more careers because it's not finished in college. And I remember I started to get in my mind, like, maybe I want to work with young people, but it was just an interest. I didn't know if that was really what I wanted to do. And I remember one day I get asked to go to a conference. My mentor asked me to come out and they say, hey, we'd like you to speak to high school students because I want to tell them about your experience, just like you had right now, the college students, and they were speaking about their experience. Exactly like that. They asked me to come and speak at this conference as a part of a panel. And as I was there, explaining my story to the students, I started feeling really good. I was like, man, I like this. I like sharing with students about, what's helped me be successful and what some of my failures have been. Now, here's the thing that changed everything. I was about to leave the conference, but I was like, you know what? One of the workshops caught my attention, and it was by this guy named Ernesto Mejia. And it was a workshop. It was called 3 Little Things. And it caught my attention. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go see this guy and see what he's all about. And I remember I went to that workshop, and I stood in the back because I was like, if it's boring, I'm just going to leave. Yo, let me tell you what. Over the next hour, I seen this guy engage people like I've never seen people do anybody before. And none of my teachers in high school ever engaged the way that this guy. People were laughing, people were crying, people were learning, and they were having fun. And then in that moment when I seen him do that work, that's when I knew. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do, right? I want to do what he's doing, and sometimes that's why it's so important that you go out and explore, because sometimes you'll see things, people doing work that will spark something in you. You see, you're limited in knowing what careers are out there right now. So that's why you have to go explore. You're limited in knowing what you're interested in. You have a lot of interests, but I promise you, when you see someone doing something that interests you highly and there's passion and excitement in you, then you'll know it's something to pursue. And I remember after his speech, he said, hey, he kind of announced to the whole group, hey, if there's any way that I can be helpful, please let me know. And Ernesto always says this, after his speeches. And I remember thinking in that moment, like, I got to get to know this guy. Like, I don't care what it's going to take. I gotta get to know this guy. I got to ask him questions. I got to know this question, right? I got to know, how can I do what you do? How can I do what you do? And I remember that like it was yesterday. I remember going up to him and I remember, I'm laughing because I remember that there's these 2 girls that were like taking pictures with him, like usually when you go to a conference, people want to take a picture with the speaker. And I was so adamant that I had to go and meet this guy that I literally went up to them and I was like, move. Hi, my name is Juan Cangas and I want to do what you do. I think he was like a little scared of what the heck is this guy. But the great thing is that he was super helpful. He's seen, I think, the passion and the vigor in me. And even though I had no skills whatsoever to be a speaker, I think he's seen the passion and the interest in it. And from that moment forward, that was an interaction that I had 12 years ago. This guy's been my mentor. He's been somebody that not only have I looked up to, but he's helped me walk that journey. He's walk that journey to my future and to becoming more successful in my career path. But let me ask you, what if I had not asked that question? What if I had let my fear stop me from going up to him? Because it's awkward, isn't it? It's awkward to ask people questions, especially if you don't know them. I don't know about you, but I usually don't go and ask random people questions. But your passion for your future, your desire for a greater future has to be greater than your fear of what others may think. Your passion for a greater future has to be stronger than your fear of what others think. Because if you allow your fear of what others think dominate your life, then you will never ask the right questions to the right people. And it'll be hard to find your path. See, I think questions are the answer. In a good book, it says, ask and you shall receive. Right? Ask and you shall receive. Ask the question, but you got to ask the right questions. Are you even asking yourself the right questions of your career? I'll ask you right now, these are the questions you want to ask as you're trying to explore and discover, hey, what interests me, right? What am I good at? What am I interested in? And is what I'm interested aligned with my career interest? Is what I'm good at aligned with my career interests? See, you might be really interested in being an engineer, but you're not really good at math. So you have to question those things, right? Can I develop my skill of math to a higher level so then I could do that career? So you might be interested in something, but let me tell you what, in your career path, there's a sweet spot. There's a sweet spot, right? See, the sweet spot to finding the career for you is this area right here. That's the little sweet spot. It's where your interest, what you're interested in, matches some of your strengths and your skills. And then sometimes you just need that extra opportunity. You just need to ask the right person the right thing. But let me tell you what, opportunities come to those who seek them. Opportunities come to those who seek them. A lot of people tell me, man, Juan, you're so lucky. Like, you got to meet this mentor, and then you got to, now become a speaker. And man, things must have been super easy for you. I'm like, no, man. Did you just hear my story? For 5 years, I was trying to explore. I was going out. I was trying to find that career, and it took me 5 years to find it. Most people give up. Let me ask you this question. If you knew it was going to take you at least 10 years to find the career that you're most passionate about, would you commit to that journey? Yes or no? Put it in the chat. I want to know this. If you knew, if I could go to your future and said, hey, Sherjan or Lisbeth or Mutu, it's going to take you at least 10 years to even discover, to taste enough things out in the world and say, yep, I want to do this. Would it be worth it? Would that journey be worth it? Asia says yes. Would that journey be worth it? Sherjan says yes. Let me tell you, from my experience, it has been so worth it. It has been so worth it. There are few things in this world as powerful and as joyful as having a career that you love. There are things, right? For me personally, God is the most joyful thing in my life. But my career is something so very joyful as well. And I wish you could taste. I wish you could know how good it feels to be able to get up day in and day out and say, I could do this for the next 100 years. I could be able to do what I'm doing, not for the next 45 years, for the next 100 years. Even if nobody paid me, I'd still wake up and do this. No amount of money, no amount of recognition will surpass you finding a career that you absolutely love and is joyful. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be parts of every career that you don't enjoy, right? But the majority of the things, the moments, like right now when I'm speaking to you, I'm not getting paid for this today, right now, right? I don't know how well this is engaging you all, but let me tell you what, in this moment, I feel joy. I feel passion because I'm doing in this moment what I absolutely love, which is to teach, to engage, just like the first time I see my mentor do it. But you got to go and seek it. You got to go and seek, because if you seek, you shall find. But most students are waiting in the couch, just waiting for people to come to them. And let me tell you what, if you wait, nothing will come to you. You got to go out and find it. You got to initiate. And I know some of you are shy, and I know some of you are thinking, Coach Cangas, but you don't understand, like, it's awkward. I can't just like go after things, right? Plus COVID and all these weird things. But let me tell you what, COVID has actually given us an amazing opportunity. Most people now are online, right? Almost everybody. As before, you would have to go to like if you wanted to be a doctor, you'd have to go to the hospital and sign all this paperwork. Now you could literally just call a doctor and be like, hey, can we Zoom so I can do an informational interview with you and ask you questions? Technology has actually allowed us to be able to connect with professionals a lot more than when we were in person. Let me tell you what, the opportunities are always out there. The opportunities are always out there to be able to seek these opportunities, okay? And these are the opportunities you want to look for. You want to go out and taste with doing informational interviews, doing job shadows, which means you go into a job site and actually finding those things. And then the best thing, the absolute best thing you can do, and you should do this for the career that you're most interested in, finding internship opportunities. What's an internship? An internship is where you actually go and literally for a time work in that field, right? So you're not going to be a doctor, but you would work in a hospital alongside doctors to see day in and day out. And why are those important? Well, let me tell you, internships are so important because, like I mentioned, every job has great things about it and every job has not so great things about it, right? Every career has good things and bad things. And you need to be able to evaluate both of those things when you're making the decision. But you only get to see the negative parts if you are doing it for a few months. And so that's why those internship opportunities are so important. Now, let me leave you with this. I hope this has been inspiring, but even more, I hope this has been convicting. You should be working just as hard right now to not just get to college, but to find your career and solidify, is this what I really want to do? Because don't be like me. Don't spend all of your time in high school just getting to college. That's important as well. But I would even say it's more important is finding out what you want to do and making sure that that's really what you want. And some of you are doing amazing things. Like Mutu, I know that you are part of the Healthcare Academy and you're actually getting in the work of what it's going to be like to be in the healthcare industry. That's amazing, right? Those of you that are not doing those things, make a choice. Make a decision today. I'm going to start moving and taking little baby steps to identify what is the career that I'm most interested in. And what of these three things can I do? Can I do an information interview? Can I do a job shadow? Can I look for internship opportunities later in the future so I can really taste whether this is something for me? So I'm going to give you a challenge. And it's up to you. It's up to you whether you will take this challenge. I'm going to put down in the comments 3 things you can do to start to discover what you're good at, your interests, and also what you can do is to be able to explore other careers, okay? Number 1 thing, a lot of times, sometimes students are like, I don't know, Coach Cangas, I don't know what I'm good at. I don't really know, like, because it's hard to, for some of us, like, we're not really self-aware. You know, one of the most important things you could do to figure out what are some of your strengths and some of the things that you're good at? Pick an adult that you respect, like your coach or a teacher, and just sit down with them and ask them this question. Hey, what strengths do you see in me that I could use in a career in the future? What skills, what things do I do naturally that I could use in the future for a career? I was just having this conversation with a previous student of mine, Crystal. She is, her strengths is she's super empathetic. You know what that word means, empathetic? It means she feels for other people. Like, she can tell when somebody's sad, like just by looking at them. She can tell when somebody's happy even before they say anything. She's empathetic. It's something that comes naturally to her. You know what a great career I recommended for her would be? It's like, hey, you're super empathetic. You should be a counselor, because counselors need to know, hey, what is my patient going through, right? And they need to be able to pick up on the cues that are nonverbal, and she does that so naturally. So that's one way you can figure out what am I good at. Just sit down with an adult, talk to them, and say, hey, I'm trying to figure out what I'm what are some of my strengths? I'm still trying to figure that out. But would you tell me, like, what have you seen in me? What are some traits that you've seen in me that I could use for a career? Or what future careers do you think I'd be good at because I have those strengths? Number two is in the worksheet, there's a test you could take. It's called the High Five test. It's absolutely free. It's about 20 minutes. Ask you different questions, and then after responding to those questions, it actually shows you what are your top 5 strengths. It shares with you what top 5 strengths you have, and then you can start connecting those 5 strengths to future careers. And last but not least, I'm going to challenge you all. In this time of COVID, it's the absolute best time to be able to contact a professional and get a Zoom meeting with them. So this is my challenge on there. Over the next month, if you're serious about this and you have not interviewed a professional in your most interested career field, you got a month. You absolutely have a month to be able to pick up the phone, call different places and say, hey, would you mind sitting down with me for a virtual meeting and being able to, so I could ask you some questions about your career? Let me tell you, that's the first step. That's the first step to discovering what those careers are. Now, don't be the student that sits back and lets life happen to them. You got to go and take charge in this area of your life. See, there's a lot of other areas of your life that you can leave for other people to do, but this area you have to take charge. You have to take the initiative because it's worth it. Your career journey is worth it. And many of you told me at the start, even if it took me 10 years to get to the career of my dreams, it'd be worth it. And I tell you here, it's absolutely worth it, but you got to start that career journey. So, without further ado, thank you for serving you. And if there's any way, like my mentor told me the first meeting I had with him, my name is Juan Cangas. I'm your humble servant. And if there's any way that I can help you, please let me know.